Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an iPhone 11 Pro Max. Gone are the days of simple names, but this phone packs a lot of punch, and I guess they needed to make you feel that way through the name. This is the iPhone 11 Pro Max. The questions I ask myself every iPhone release are: 1. Is my current iPhone causing me enough problems to upgrade, things like speed, heating up, and battery health? And 2, if I wait one more year, will I suffer through my phone's problems, or will I be rewarded by sticking it through? So the overarching question becomes, how far back of an iPhone should you be at to make this a worthy upgrade? And so I'll show you an unboxing of the 11 Pro Max, and then I'll talk about what I like, what I dislike, and give a recommendation along with some of my opinions. Again, a beautiful unboxing experience from Apple. Let's face it, these guys have this process nailed. With most products, the box is a barrier, but with Apple products, it's an expected part of the process. I know I'm not an Apple fanboy, but I think there's a reason why they're one of the most valuable companies in the world today. And even when they were far from it, there was something special about their attention to detail, even when it came to things like the unboxing process. In the box, you get the iPhone, the documentation, some headphones, a charging cable that surprisingly has a USB-C connection. Now, I don't know if that's a harbinger for future iPhones with USB-C connectivity, or if it's to support connecting to an iMac or Mac. The SIM card pin makes an appearance again, which is a very welcome one. So let's get to the good, and I'll be focusing on the differences I found going from a 10 to the 11 Pro Max. Easy. The phone feels great. It's faster when you need it to be, like in Face ID, switching through the apps and launching apps. The front camera is remarkably good and sports a 12 megapixel resolution. And the cameras in the back are all 12 megapixels too, so that kind of tells you how good the camera in the front is. As you can see, I'm recording using another iPhone 11. The new triple camera setup is fantastic. Extremely noticeable differences from previous generations, especially pre-iPhone 10 phones. Some of the improvements that you notice using the phone are the ultra clear voice and HD voice and voice over LTE, which makes it seem more like you're talking over a broadband connection than a cellular network, which I really liked. The screen is great. It's not as smooth as some of the competitor screens, but that isn't a huge point of complaint. I also noticed the battery life is remarkably improved. It can last 2 days on a charge if need to. Now, let's get into some of the things that I really don't like. I did mention that the screen is good, but the screen refreshing at 60 Hz is old technology. When the competition is refreshing at about 90 Hz, and more in some cases, I think that having the iPhone refreshing that slow is a bit of a detractor, and I think I would have liked it, especially considering the processing power of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Face ID is good, but it's not always ideal. When I wear polarized lenses, the phone has a hard time detecting my face. Then it goes from slow to annoying to unlock my phone. If there was a side finger sensor on the power button, I think that would have made the entire experience a lot better. Now, 5G. There's a caveat. Now, I'm not a huge believer in 5G yet, but there's many people who do and want to switch sooner rather than later. I think the speeds are fantastic, but to justify the need on an iPhone or any phone today is not going to be a big factor in the decision, and I personally wouldn't recommend the phone due to its 5G capability. Let's put it this way. From Edge to 3G, the difference was so huge and relevant, that alone was the selling point. It was even called the iPhone 3G when it was released. From 3G to 4G LTE, we also saw a huge improvement, and it was about 10 times order of magnitude. Now we're talking roughly 50 megabits a second, according to PCMag. As a practical reviewer, I have to take us back to earth. I've been on a 4G network since the iPhone supported it. Since then, my desire for blazing speeds was not as important at all for my phone. There's many times with the iPhone when the addition of a feature was leaps ahead of the previous model, and every improvement thereafter is somewhat marginal. Some examples are the screen improvement to Retina on the iPhone 4. That was a huge improvement, but every improvement ever since has only been marginal. The network improvement from the original phone to the iPhone 3G, the network improvement from the 4S to the 5 with 4G LTE, the CPU improvement from the 6 to the 6S, and so on. Those were huge improvements and drastically changed the experience, and they were bound by technology. But today, with the CPU power of this current phone, 5G, and other features like the screen, those improvements are nice to have, but they're nowhere near as experientially defining as the ones of previous iPhones. Another problem that's not limited to this model, and was especially apparent in the iPhone 6, is that the iPhones seem a little fragile. You cover them up in a case like I have here, which is really hard to remove, and which is why I've decided not to. And you never get to enjoy their inherent beauty. It's really a shame. I mean, I wish the iPhone was designed to be sturdy too. Ever since Bendgate, I've been using phone covers and haven't gotten over it, but I really wish I can get back to a point where I can just have the phone out on its own and not really worry about it too much. But my biggest pseudo complaint about the iPhone 11 Pro Max is when I did get this phone, it took me less time than average to get over it. Usually a new iPhone brings with it wonder and promise and possibilities and all these great new features. Well, I switched from my iPhone 10, which is giving me a lot of problems when it came to the battery life and the slowness that it was experiencing. And although I was super careful and delicate with the new phone, this one, I ended up with a screen protector and a case. It's as if I was using the same old phone. I noticed myself throwing it around, being careless with it, and because it felt like I had the phone for a while. I didn't feel like a new phone at all. My experience with the phone was practically identical. I know I was a bit done with my previous 10, but I was finding it hard to understand why at that point. I mean, the iPhone 11 Pro Max essentially looks the same, slightly better everything, much better camera, but that's it. Really, that is it. So this brings me to an important opinion of mine with the whole obsolescence thing. I think that Apple doesn't need to engineer it in anymore. With time, we just crave change. It's nice to buy new things, and I think they get that to a large degree. If they just overloaded the current iPhone with every single thing you could possibly need, you'll get bored of your phone and probably switch to an Android or maybe even a Nokia. Now, I wanted to delve deeper and see just how much more powerful the internals of the iPhone are getting. Admittedly, I was surprised. I thought the improvements were marginal at best for CPU power, but they're not. They're still getting twice as good every 1 to 2 years, and that was actually quite shocking for me. But the question I asked myself is, the software really hasn't changed much in a while. What is the extra performance doing? Anyway, let's get back to the point of whether this phone deserves to be in your pocket or not. My recommendation is this. If you really need a better camera and want to stick to the Apple ecosystem, then the 11 Pro is a worthy upgrade. No question. If your phone is pre-10 and slow and its battery health is low, then it really is a worthy upgrade. If you've got a 10S or Max, well, then I would recommend just keep it and wait it out. The similarity is way too close. If not for the camera, it's very hard to recommend this phone objectively. Otherwise, you're fine with what you got. You probably won't notice much of a difference. It's not groundbreaking, and it's just more of the same, made a bit faster, a bit better, a bit sleeker. And even on the point of sleeker, I'm not even sure if that's entirely true. Now, on the question of switching over from or to Android, well, here's the deal. When you're intertwined in one of the ecosystems, it becomes increasingly difficult to switch. I think it's less of an issue of specs or cameras and more of an issue of how much switching you're willing to put up with. I mean, moving all your photos, all your passwords, all your saved apps, all of the purchases is just a huge pain. Thank you for watching. If you found that helpful, please subscribe or like the video and comment below to let me know what you think.